Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for attending. We try to do this every quarter, so we just want to do a little recap on what has come to the platform the last couple months. And as we get ready for fall, winter, depending on where you're at in the world, and thinking through what we get to do and celebrate as we wrap up the year. So let's jump into it. But we're going to start off with some intros. So my name is Colin. I am a developer advocate here at Discord, also an API enjoyer. Mark, if you want to go next slide. There we go. API enjoyer and a team member of the dev advocate team here. So Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Mandel. I am easily distracted by dogs. Actually, my dog's in the other room, so I'm not going to be that distracted totally today. I'm also a member of the developer relations team. I've been here at Discord since February. So pleasure to be here as always. You'll see my face on the YouTube channel a bunch because it's there. So we're going to start off talking about some of the new and improved things on the Discord social SDK. So if you're not familiar with the Discord social SDK, this is the SDK that we released in March of this year with the ability to bring the social features of Discord into your game. Basically trying to give you tools to do essentially user acquisition and retention through social graph, right? Like being able to ping your friends while you're in a game when you see they're in Discord and be like, why are you not playing with me? You should play this game with me. So it makes it easier for you to play with your friends. So we had a bunch of releases in the past quarter. We had 3 actually. We did a 1.4, a 1.5, and a 1.6. I'm just going to talk you through a few of my favorite features that came out because I think they're pretty neat. So coming up first, lobby and DM history. This is a much requested feature for the SDK. Essentially, a lobby is an area where you can group people together to do voice chat as well as group chat. And for a long time, you couldn't actually get lobby history. So if you were joining new, you couldn't see what the previous ones were, for example. By the same token, if you were joining a DM and you had some DM history, like either through Discord or through the game, you couldn't necessarily get that either through the SDK. Now we actually have functionality in the SDK itself, specifically to be like, okay, now I can actually get some history and I can see what was going on previously and gives you some context. On top of that, we have new helper functions for a unified friends list. So a unified friends list is basically being able to see, like, here's my whole friends list, like all the old people I'm friends with. And it used to be that you had to kind of sort that stuff manually. So if you were like, here's my online friends, here's the ones that are idle, here's the ones that are offline, etc. So we built some helpful functions that are part of the SDK now that do that for you. So do that sorting for you. It also does some nice, useful utilities as well, which is it also sorts the people who have played the game that you're both in at the top as well, which I think is super neat, because that also means that, say, like, I don't know that Colin has played this game yet, but I see then that he shows up at the top of my list. I can be like, oh, Colin's playing the game I'm in. Fantastic. I'm going to go ping him and say we should play together, because now I know that he's also played the game. So really useful stuff. If you're doing your own unified friends list, you might want to look at the new helper functions and move across. We also added some more rich presence activity types. So rich presence, like that thing that shows up in your profile that says, hey, what am I playing or what am I doing? When we first released the SDK, the only activity type we supported was playing, but now you can do listening, you can do watching, and you can do competing. On top of that, for rich presence fields, we have now also added clickable rich presence fields. Rich presence fields, let's say that properly. So like, for example, if you want to be able to click on a status and have it go off to URL, you can do that now too, treat it like a hyperlink. So you can sort of add some more contextual data to your rich presence. Join linked Discord servers. That's a bit of a mouthful. Let me explain what's going on there. So if you have a lobby inside, if you set up inside a game using the social SDK, you can also link that lobby to a separate Discord channel with some user permissions provided. So that means that you could have a Discord channel hooked up so that it is then talking to, what's happening inside the game. You can sort of join those spaces together. What was previously quite tricky was basically being like, oh, well, if I'm playing the game and I don't know about that Discord server, how do I get in there? Maybe I want to join it. Maybe it's a clan or a group of people who play together. they'd have to like send you a link, or it's a lot of manual work. Now we actually have a function as part of the SDK where you can actually have it as part of the game to be like, hey, do you want to offer to join this game? They can click it, boom, they can go join that Discord server. It's just a quick, easy win. Oof, there's so much stuff here. We have a ways to go. It's good. Linux glibc compatibility. This may sound like a kind of niche thing. TLDR, basically this is better Steam Deck compatibility. So for people who are building on Steam Deck, this is a good thing for you. A ton of bug and stability fixes as well. Definitely worth checking those out. But I also want to highlight one very particular thing as well on one of our most recent releases on the mobile space. So previously, 1.4-ish, if you were building a mobile game and you're using the social SDK and somebody tried to link their account, it was not so great. It would kick you over to a browser window, which usually meant that people had to put in their like username and password again because you weren't really logged in on your browser more often than not. You're logged in on a client. And so like getting people to link was like difficult. But now, as of the 1.5 SDK release, it does native mobile auth, which is what you're seeing on the right-hand side. So now when you do account linking, it takes you straight to the mobile app. It does that login because you're already logged in the app, most likely, and it's quick and it's easy. So if you are building a mobile game, we definitely recommend you upgrade to at least 1.5. Please go up to all the way up to 1.6. That would make us super happy. But that gives you some nice mobile features and make it easier for your users to do their account linking and get all that nice benefits. Oh my gosh, so much stuff. Still some more to go. Let's keep on going. So we also did our release of the Communication Suite general availability. What does that mean? So when we talk about our Communication Suite, we're talking about lobbies, voice chat, group chat, DMs, basically all the things that do communications. Now, you can use all of that right now if you want to just start up an app and use the social SDK. But you will find that it's rate limited pretty heavily so that it's only really good for development. You can use it very well for development, but it's really only good for that. If you want to use it in a production capacity, you'll want to remove those developer rate limits. How do you do that? We now have full documentation for that. So we actually documented as part of, you can go to the website, see it now, the application requirements. So basically things like you need to do a Discord account linking, rich presence, Discord joins, things like that, where we give the full list of exactly what you need to have in your game, how to document it so that then you can go to the developer portal where we have the application page. You can put in all the details and say, okay, I've done all the right things. Now you can give me the communication suite, please, so I can have access. So it gives you all the criteria for that. If you want to hear that spoken out loud, go to youtube.com/@discorddevelopers. There is a recording of the DDevs talk we did, I think it's about a month ago, maybe 2, literally with 2 of our fantastic product people stepping us through all those requirements and what that looks like and what people need to do. So call back to a previous DDevs talk that is well worth checking out. And don't forget to like and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Very important. We have some new webhook events. So these are events that you can subscribe to, primarily to intercept and see what's happening with lobby messages, so chat messages, and direct game messages, specifically for game. This is social SDK only. These are particularly useful if you want to do primarily asynchronous moderation. So you want to see like what's coming in on those messages and maybe make sure that they they align with your terms of service and like what your content policies are. And then you can do actions upon them because you're getting that information and send them off basically to your backend systems. So we have a whole bunch of new stuff there. I'll make one more call out here as well. If you want to learn more and you don't know about the Social SDK, first of all, discord.com/social SDK, but also the Social SDK landing page got a refresh recently. It looks great. You'll see some new stats. You'll see some new case studies. So if you want to dig into that more, or you have dug into it previously and you want to go back and see what's new, definitely check that out. Woof.
Let's give Mark a little break. So that was the Social SDK, all the updates that came out in 1.4, 1.5, and 1.6. But we also have some upcoming changes, so recent changes and upcoming changes to bots and activities. So I'm going to turn it back over to Mark.
Oh boy, it's just me again. Thanks so much, Colin. That's okay. I promise I will give you time to talk. I would like to take a break. All right, fantastic. We have some bots and activity stuff too that is also worth talking about. I know we have a lot of bot developers in here, so hopefully these are exciting. First one is one that I think is super cool. We have now released per guild bot profiles. So if you're building a bot and you want it to show up in different servers and you want it to show up in different servers with different nicknames or avatars, banners, bios, you can do that now, setting it per guild using the modified guild member. I'm seeing some big shock faces inside chat. That is fantastic. That is exactly the response we want. Very, very excited about that. On top of that, and again, there was a whole DDevs presentation that was recorded, and I'm 99% sure is live. In fact, I'm very sure it's live on the YouTube channel. We did a whole thing talking about the new modal components. If you didn't manage to catch that presentation or the announcement, as many of you are aware, beforehand you could only do text input on modals, and the world was not very happy. But now you can do many things on our modal components, which we'll talk through in a minute, and the world is pretty happy. I know there's more stuff that y'all are looking for here as well. So we'll dig into that a little bit as well. So what are the new modal components? What do we have? So we have modal labels, essentially top level components with a label and a description. And then you can put either label inputs or select inputs in there. Much nicer to work with than the previous ones. As we dig in, like we talk about selects a little bit here. So selects fully supported in modals, which is awesome. They need to be placed inside a label component, as we just said, but we can do string selects. We can pre-populate some of our selects with things like users or roles or channels. I do feel like my favorite is just the mentionables. I think just because I like saying the word mentionables. That is just literally everything that can be added inside your Discord server. And so that's available too. We definitely don't want to have an unmentionables select. I think that's not what we're looking for. All right. Now we also have modal text display. So you want to show maybe some instructions or something like that inside your modal. This is the thing you want. Supports Markdown. Fantastic. Love it. That's great. Colin, I think this is you.
Being sneaky. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. Activities. So if you've worked with the Embedded App SDK and activities, you've probably tried to use the proxy. There is a sandbox that activities run in. Next slide. And one of the things that we wanted to do is just make this easier to use. And so we introduced a proxy path that made it so that any of the resources that you were using, you had to do /.proxy. We actually have removed this, so you can check it in the changelog. It's still compatible, so if your activity already works with the proxy paths, it's completely fine. You can keep using them. But if you're working on anything new, you don't have to follow that proxy path. And so if you end up using patch URL mappings, which is in the Embedded App SDK, it can also support both with or without the proxy. And just know that the proxy is still there. You just don't have to deal with like generating these routes with .proxy in it. So small win, little quality of life improvement. We saw a lot of feedback in activities dev chat around what is this? Why isn't my thing loading? And so we just want to make that easier. Next slide. Up next, we've got some API and platform updates. So some of these are things that have just recently come into effect, and some are coming up, and they're things that you should watch for. So next slide. So yeah, like I just mentioned, things to keep an eye on. If you run a library or run a bot, you probably want to make sure that you're aware of these. Next slide. We have split out pin messages from managed messages. This is a really cool update because before you had to have managed messages in order to pin and unpin. So now there is a new permission. If you go into the UI and edit a role, you'll see the pin permissions permission is separate from managed messages. These are backwards compatible today, but you will need to update anything that if your bot is using pins in any way, you'll want to make sure that you have the pin permission, pin messages permission before January 12th. So January 12th, Manage messages permission will no longer grant the ability to pin and unpin messages, and you'll have to have that separate permission. With that, we also increased the pin limit from 50 to 250 per channel, so you can pin more things. And then there's also an improved get channel pins endpoint that has pagination, so that you can go get all of those 250 pins in a channel. So another quality of life thing, helps to get permissions split out so that you don't have to give the whole farm away just to pin and unpin messages.
So we have some deprecated voice protocols. We did say that these particular ones were going to go away in about November last year, so practically before my time. So hopefully by now, when we're actually doing this work and taking away some of these protocols, you are well warned. So, excuse me. X Salsa 20 Poly 1305 and AEAD AES 256 GCM. I really shouldn't say this out loud. You will see that some of those have started to roll out as basically going away. So you may have already experienced some gateway connections which no longer support these deprecated modes. Really, what I recommend is really just checking out the docs to make sure that you're supporting, what is it? AED XChan. Oh my God, I'm not going to say that one either, or the GT, the other one. Just check the docs. I'm not going to say those out loud. The rollout's going to be gradual. It'll progress to 100% over our voice fleet probably over the next couple of months. So definitely check out the docs to just make sure that if you are doing voice stuff with your bots or your apps, you stick with the protocols that are still supported. I think you've had enough time. I hope so. I hope you've had enough time. Speaking of deprecations, Dave, and end-to-end encryption on voice. So we started on end-to-end encryption for voice with Discord about 2 years ago to enhance our user privacy and security. The Dave library's been out for a little while as well, and is supported across all our platforms. So to support those long-term goals, basically starting from March 1st, 2026, we will only be supporting end-to-end encryptions. We put out a call about this and a notification about this, I also want to say a few months ago. If you're working with voice APIs, you can consult the updated voice documentation. Also highly recommend checking out the open source repository. There's links there as well. If you really want to, you can also read the protocol white paper. I did want to say as well, like there is a JavaScript and I want to say C implementation or C++, I forget, implementation in the open source repository. They are working on both a C API wrapper and pre-built binaries for static and dynamic libraries for all major platforms. That is coming. I haven't got an exact timeline on it. Some more extended testing, some more approvals before it makes it in the repo. You can also find the link. You'll also see there's a note inside that repo as well talking about that. So yeah, if you're doing voice stuff, please move over to Dave so we can encrypt all the things.
All right, this one actually just went into effect on October 1st. So if you are a bot that uses the gateway and you have been asking for all guild members in servers more frequently than every 30 seconds, you will now receive a rate limit. So before, we had a lot of bots just asking for all guild members every second or more, and really you were not getting all of the members before you were asking for them again. And so you will now receive a rate limit event if you do this more than one time per guild per bot every 30 seconds. So that is not a good rap either there, but so yeah, just know if you're using the guild members opcode, just don't ask for it, more than once every 30 seconds. And if you do, you'll get that rate limit event, and just follow the headers and the event data on when you can request it again. Yeah, you won't receive the guild members any faster if you ask for it more often. You'll still, or you won't, and you also won't get them any slower. Like you will still get the guild member chunks for each guild that you requested in. So just note, this is already in effect. Check your logs if you don't know if you're doing this, and just see if you are being rate limited at all. You can listen to guild member update events. You can keep a cache. You can do a bunch of things here to avoid needing to call all guild members in those guilds. All right, so looking ahead, we've talked a little bit about the things. That was a lot of housekeeping things that we've been tinkering on. We got components, we got the social SDK, we've got a little bit of love for bots and activities. But we also wanted to talk a little bit about just how our DevRel team has grown and what we are working on, what we're thinking about, how we can better serve you as Discord developers going forward. So what are these Discord devs doing anyway? Next slide.
Who knows?
So most of you are familiar with our developer docs, and we think of this as, the core entry point for people who are going to learn about the different APIs that we have, the different products that we offer. Again, social SDK for games, activities, being able to play games inside of Discord, bots, companion apps, things that can happen in channels and different servers. Very, important. But when we first wrote our docs, bots were the only thing that we had on the platform. And over time, we've added these other surfaces. And so next slide, we wanted to think about what would the Discord next gen docs look like? What should our dev docs look like if we were to build them today? And so in order to do that, we have to do a little bit of house cleaning. So next slide. And so we are actually moving to a new docs platform. And the way we think about this is that it helps us kind of sharpen our docs tooling. It makes it easier for us to create better docs. It's also going to make it so that you as contributors can continue to contribute to the docs. We'll still be taking contributions there, but once we're on this new platform, it'll just be a lot easier for us to put out those PRs, to review those PRs, and then we can start to think about like what should the docs look like after we're on that platform. A little bit of behind the scenes, but today we have the docs in our GitHub repo, and then those get pulled into the Discord code base. And so we're making it just so that we can do that a lot easier. And to Advay's point, being able to see previews of your PRs is going to be huge. Being able to preview the changes that you're making locally is going to be huge, because then we can start to think about what are the different entry points in the docs? How are people learning today? We know that AI and LLMs and lots of other different ways that people are getting into coding today, it might not necessarily mean reading through or watching video tutorials. Next slide. So the GitHub repo. Discord API docs is not going anywhere. We will still have that as a public repo. You can still make PRs to it. We are going to have a very large PR that's going to land that is mostly formatting. And so there's going to be some changes. It's going to be a huge diff. We're already reviewing it ahead of time to make sure that nothing breaks. But once we merge that in, then we'll be able to start taking PRs. So as of today, we're actually not merging any new PRs until after the migration, which fingers crossed is next week. So once that happens, any of the PRs that we have open will get pulled into that new thing. As far as what it looks like, it's going to look very much very similar. It's going to have some minor improvements, but once we're on this new platform, we'll be able to start changing things and redesigning the docs so that they just work better. You can find things. The top search term in our docs today is just the word bot. And for the most part, like searching for bot does not return a whole lot of interesting information for you. So we want to think about how do you best find, social SDK? How do you find details about bots? And yes, please give me a bot in chat if you can. Next slide. So GitHub issues. This is still going to be the best place to report issues for API or the SDKs. So if you're running into something, obviously make sure that you actually have found a bug. If it's just user error, read the docs, make sure you're using it properly. But if you find something that's broken, let us know. The issues are going to be the best place for that. We still have the GitHub discussions as well, which you can use for feature requests and things like that. We do read them. We know we don't always respond to them. So please keep using those as much as you can. Next slide. All right, so Open API spec. So we released this in 2023, so it's been about 2 years now. And the Open API spec, we are working towards getting it to 1.0. If you look at the spec today, it does not have descriptions for fields, parameters, the different endpoints, and we really want to get it across the line and just get it to a place where it's really meant to be computer readable documentation. But once we have that, we can, next slide, we can actually work on generated reference for the API. So today we have this for the social SDK. The social SDK C++ docs are generated from the code. So whenever we make changes to the SDK, we know that the docs are in sync. Today, our HTTP API, as many of you in chat know, many of you have PRs open. A lot of our PRs are to our actual API reference docs. And those reference docs are handwritten today, and we want to change that. We want to improve those so that when the API changes, the docs will change and vice versa. Things will always be in sync there. We'll still take PRs to the rest of the docs, but eventually that will mean that we can actually stop having to fix every little like, oh, that description is incorrect, or what about this field that I'm seeing that I don't actually see in the docs and things like that. So we'll get that in a better state. The Embedded App SDK is a TypeScript library today. We also handwrite the reference for that today, and that's something that we want to be able to set our sights on to get that generated as well. That's going to come a little bit later, probably in 2026. And then many of us use the gateway. We are looking at how we might generate reference for the gateway. It's a little bit more complicated, and so that's going to be a little bit farther out, but it's something that we want to do eventually. Next slide.
All right. Want to give everyone here a heads up on some of the upcoming events, especially if you didn't manage to catch this, but you're watching the recording instead, and it's still in time. October 16th, we will be doing a continuation of the series that Anthony first started of building games with the Discord social SDK. So last time around, you can go back and watch the recording on YouTube, or if you're on YouTube, go back and watch the recording. He started off building in Unity some basic core concepts with the social SDK, like we already did rich presence. We did unified friends list and some other bits and pieces I'm trying to remember. But this time around, we're going to be doing lobbies, we're going to do invites, we're going to do rich presence as well, like we were talking about. So make sure to check that out in the DDev server if you want to come listen to it live, or keep an eye out for it for a recording on the YouTube channel. Also, on November 5th, myself and Jamaica, who you can see in chat, are doing hook, line, and sinker, getting started with webhook events. There are so many webhooks inside of Discord, as Jamaica and I are learning very, very quickly, of a variety of type and for a variety of use cases. So we're going to go through them all and see what's fun, what's interesting, what each can be used for, and how you can use them.
All right, and back by popular demand, we are hosting another build-a-thon. So we will have more details. There's going to be a kickoff event. There's going to be a lot of new channels created with details on how to participate. But we're going to run this a little bit longer than we have in the past because we want you to be able to build something awesome. So we will have categories for bots, for activities. We'll have a category for building a game with the social SDK. And we really want to just celebrate all the things that you can build. So we're going to have maybe some fun roles that we'll be rolling out. Not pun not intended there, but yeah. Roles, maybe some prizes, and maybe maybe a new server tag. We'll see. We've got some things in the works. So we see you trying to boost the server to get that, but we need a server tag. So yeah, more details to come on this. It will run from December 1st to January 9th. We'll have a kickoff. We'll have some check-in events. And we'll do a kind of show and tell at the end with the winning teams.
All right. Now we get stuck into our Q&A. We dropped a form inside DDevs a little while ago, and many of you sent us some very interesting questions. So the first one, file modal when? I think I saw this in chat. It show up a few times. I can confidently say soon. That is my answer.
What about the date modal component? This is something that we know about, something we want. No set plans, but we want this. We want this too.
Fantastic.
Eventually, TM.
Eventually. Oh, I like that. Better, not as good as soon, but like eventually. This was one that we got that we were intrigued by. Autocomplete drop-down component. We do, as I said before, we have a survey at the end. We'd love some more feedback on this about exactly what you would want this to do. So if this is something that you're like, oh, I know what they're talking about, please put that in the survey. We definitely check those out, and we can sort of raise that up to the team. I would love to know more about exactly what are you looking for then.
Can we use avatar decorations on bot profiles? So we just talked about per guild bot profiles earlier. With this, we don't have plans to have avatar decorations for bot profiles. This is something that we will definitely bring back to the team. the way that they work today is the avatar decorations belong to the user that purchases them or earns them through a quest, things like that. And so we don't have a way for those bot users to be able to wear an avatar decoration for Halloween or something like that. So as you can see, my lovely avatar decoration right now. But that is good feedback, and we'll definitely bring it back to the team.
Are there plans to expand bot permissions? So this is also an interesting one where we're definitely like feedback on questions about like granularity of bot permissions. So user permissions are essentially bot permissions. So would love to know, is this a question that's like, hey, I would love this very specific permission to be more granular, much like what we just showed earlier in terms of like pins being pulled out of the messaging permissions? Or is this like something that would like, hey, this is a actual bot permission that's specific for bots that we want to be able to hand off? I'm guessing more granular. But if you have something very specific in mind, yeah, please drop it in the survey. We would absolutely like to see it.
Are there plans to make it easier to test and debug apps on Discord? This one is something that we hear you on. The way we think about this, right, is that we have bots, which are a different kind of testing that are required from activities that are different than testing something with the Discord social SDK, where you got to go boot up your entire game engine and then go create a bunch of users and do a bunch of work there. So we hear you on this one. It's not something that we're working on right now, but there have been plans. There are plans. We are still shaping like what that looks like. So kind of similar, if you have very specific things that you would like to be able to test easier, that's something that we would love to hear from you about. The way that I tend to do this with bots is creating multiple versions of my bot. Now you're juggling like environment variables and different state if you have a database or anything like that. So being able to test means, usually doing the same work 3 different times, or we can just test in prod. Madeline, that's correct.
Yeah, please don't
test in prod, and then we only need one version, right? Works on one machine. But this is something we want to take back to the team. It's something that DevRel, as we're thinking about like how do we make the docs better, we also want to think about what tools, right? We have things like the rich presence visualizer that is a little bit out of date. How do we make that better and make it so that like the docs are also helping you to test the things that you're trying to do? Playgrounds, code samples, being able to test load, all that kind of stuff is interesting to us. So stay tuned. And if you fill out the survey and give us more details, maybe some of those things will come to pass.
Okay. I think that's the end of the major questions. Did you get pinged any questions from chat, Colin? I just wanted to check first. I did see Maisie ask, when are we going to get a select of selects so that we can select snare side selects?
That's a good one.
Which I thought was very reasonable. I think that's very.
I had some people ask about my lights that you could no longer see. I do have a few hue bulbs, and then I have these like, I don't know, very gamer RGB little things in the background that were just from like the Home Depot that were like $10. So they're not on the internet. They're just there. But yeah, if you're looking for some lights, maybe check Home Depot.
There you go. So I'll say it one more time. Please do fill out the survey, especially if you have feedback on anything we're saying. I saw some stuff ended up in chat. Chat goes by so fast. It doesn't have a huge amount of like, not storage. I don't use the right word. It's hard to find stuff inside chat. So if you have feedback, please drop it into the survey. If you are watching on DDevs, which all of you in chat right are, please go check out the youtube.com/@Discord Developers YouTube channel as well and subscribe to that. We've got not only stuff that shows up in DDevs, but also new videos that cover everything from like community building to the social SDK to customer stories. It's worth checking out. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, come over to discord.gg, Discord Developers, the DDevs Discord channel, and come hang out with all the fine people who are here as well.
Build-a-thon info is coming soon. So you can know that you can build anything you can build on Discord. So if you want to start thinking early, definitely do that. As far as badges, no plans for new badges. So good luck grabbing some of the badges that already exist out there. For the build-a-thon, we will be able to have things like bots, activities, or you can build a game that uses the social SDK. So think about what things you might want to do. We are going to do teams. So if you want to start thinking about teams, we will have forum channel available for making teams and submitting your apps. And if for games, we might even create a game jam on itch. So more to come there. It's going to be fun. So I'm planning on building something as well. I'm not going to be competing, but I will be building something. So we'll try to get some of the DevRels to roll up our sleeves and build some stuff with components and modals, or maybe even build a game.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Colin, for joining me. And thank you, everyone in chat as well, for joining us live.